Did you hear, Kale? Did you hear, Kale? Saturday or is it? It's Saturday still, right?
It's Saturday, baby.
Is it Monday? I don't even know.
Hey, did you guys catch that Nuggets game?
I caught it, man. Oh my God, all 4 hours of it. Welcome in everybody to the Winners Lounge.
Let's freaking
Lasers.
Go, dude.
We're also like that game was taxing, man.
I've got that felt like paying taxes.
It felt like paying taxes. You know how like watching somebody work out makes you a little, I feel like you worked out. Do you guys know this thing?
Sure.
That's how I felt tonight watching Jokic. I was like, dude, I'm exhausted.
I've got a burn going for sure.
Yeah, I definitely have a burn going. I expect I burned some calories. Welcome in everybody at the DNVR Nuggets post-game show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up. It was a fun one tonight. Bets and all, double overtime, ugliness, lots of things going on. But guess what? Nuggets on a 3-game winning streak. I'll take it.
We're going streaking!
Vibes are at an all-time high right now.
The bar was popping, man.
Bar
Tonight was
was
a great bar night.
We entered this series, the only such that the Nuggets have scheduled for the first half of the schedule here, thinking if you were going to circle a perfect time for them to turn this around, get it going, from a narrative standpoint, also a standings standpoint, at least split this with Phoenix. It'd be great if they get pulled.
Yeah, for sure. And we were talking about it. We were like, us coming in like, a split would be good. And then the game goes on. You're like, they got to win this.
And they so nearly lost both games. But you know what?
They didn't.
They didn't.
Yeah. So, of course, guys, I'm Adam Mattes. I'm joined by Brendan Vogt.
What's happening,
Look at
folks?
this coat he's got on. Very you are cold, aren't you?
I run cold-blooded, bro.
I'm a little cold, too, to be honest. And I'm warm-blooded. Over here, we got D-Line Co.
Yeah, you guys, a little behind the scenes here. When things are going well, like, it's nonstop compliments up here in the lounge.
And when things are bad.
Like, when things are bad, it's just like silence. But like right now, like Adam's loving Brendan's winter coat.
That's true. I am loving it. Man, there's so much to get through here tonight, guys. First, I want to say, we're doing pregame shows now. And if you've missed them, I highly recommend checking them out. If you enjoy this show, I really enjoy checking those out. Obviously live, where you get to hang out in the comments and talk with everybody as we go. But even if you missed it, great conversation. We try to structure them in a way so that the first half of every pregame show is evergreen. And today we talked about Jokic and Larry Bird and the comparisons because Kendrick Perkins brought them up. Greg Popovich brought them up.
Right.
So we thought, let's start the conversation here about how good Jokic
is. Dialogue,
You're not going to want to miss it. But first, of course, you want to hang out right here. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to kick back a little bit. 3-game winning streak. What's nice, last game was the first one Nuggets won, where it was, okay, they beat a good team and they had to really dig deep to win. Tonight, not quite as meaningful, but still important because they won ugly. They beat a good team by winning ugly, and I feel like there's something important about that.
Yeah, well, it's about the resilience, right? I mean, it's like it taps into what the Nuggets were last year, where it wasn't always like everything was just going well for them, and they, you have to have Jamal Murray scoring 50 points in order to rattle off a win. Like, they just did what had to be done. Like that. I mean, they did. To be fair, they did the absolute bare minimum that needed to be done, but all the same, they did it. Like, so. It feels good, though, man. We back. Nuggets are back.
Do you feel like the Nuggets are back, Brendan?
I do, actually. I
really?
mean, I don't think it's like all smooth sailing from here, but I do feel like they have bailed the ship out, and from here, they can start sailing and charting their course.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's like not a coincidence. It happened. When did the turnaround happen?
When they got all everybody. You're right. You're right. It is interesting. There's so many different little pieces to get to because, as we're mentioning, this was an ugly win. The Nuggets had arguably the worst 6 minutes of basketball of the Jokic era.
Of the NBA era.
Of the NBA era, really. You have to go all the way back to the NBL or whatever, the 1940s league. The 0 points scored from either team for 6 minutes. It was just that stretch of basketball was sort of definitive of how this game went. And you wouldn't have guessed it because the over hit, 120 to 112. If you just told somebody that, you'd be like, oh, it was an offensive game. This was really a grinded out. Teams had to find ways to score that were not pretty. Jokic in particular tonight, you know, you look at his stat line and you go 29 points, 22 rebounds, 6 assists. Absolutely absurd. But this was this took Jokic doing ugly things to win, which usually, you know, he's so beautiful. Usually it's the beautiful things that win for Jokic.
I'm still getting skewered online here and in the comments for tweeting. I thought it was the first disappointing game of the season from him. And it's a very...
Well, that's because you chose disappointing. That's why.
You went too hard in the paint.
Can I explain, though? Like, that is a relative term. Like, you're used to him being the best player in the world. No,
Quit so hard on him.
Yeah, I really thought he had chances to wrap this thing.
Brendan hates Jokic.
Like we weren't all saying this to each other.
All just an echo chamber in here all night long. I thought he had a lot of chances to put it away in the fourth. Look, I'm glad I don't have to criticize him because his game was great. But it's just hilarious that this is his worst game of the season, and dope that the cavalry finally showed up when they needed to win most.
We have some pretty some people that are pretty insistent that we drink some Rocky.
God, I guess you're right, Kale. I mean, whenever you get a moment, I guess we have to. Oh, is he really? Oh, man, the homie Johnny. Oh,
man, I can't wait to puke live on the internet.
So the reason so we could start with Jokic. We could start there because I think, and I do this too, when we're tweeting in the moment, and we have a million things going on, and like you pick the wrong word. Disappointing is probably the wrong word because this was a bad Jokic game, in my opinion. It was a bad game, but he had to like play through the bad to win. No, what I'm saying is disappointing.
I'm laughing because people are like prescribing 3 shots as penance for his overly critical take.
Though. Like, I mean, he's all right. It's really
just
a reward.
Let's fuel him up. Like, I'm curious to see what recesses of his brain we're going to reach for tonight with the Rocky.
But the way I would just put it is like Jokic's shot wasn't falling. The passes weren't looking crisp. He looked like he had cement cylinders around his feet. He looked exhausted, and understandably so.
Right,
like,
that's the thing.
This was the game where we've talked about it all the time. Like, Jokic is going to wear out. He's going to do, he's playing so many minutes this early in the season, you get concerned. Tonight, it was so clear he just didn't have it physically.
No.
But he gutted through it, as did all of the Nuggets. Well, because he is incredible.
I actually, the reason I chose the word disappointing, and it's not that it's not that he's not due that game, but no, I thought what's been as impressive about anything from Jokic this season is his approach has been impeccable all the way through, even through some horrible basketball from his teammates. I personally felt like tonight
this is a good take.
He was playing to the referees and not to the flow of the game.
Yeah, he was
and at times, when his team was counting on him to be, by his standards, a top 3 player in the world, he fell a little short. Then a little time passed, and he was awesome again in overtime.
So actually, this lends itself to a theory. One of the things we've talked about, Jokic is doing the dumb fouls less, although he was doing it early in the season, but he's doing them less. He's getting fewer texts from berating officials or this or that. Body language has been a little bit better. But we have connected dots. We're not sure they're there, but we've connected dots to, well, he's in great shape. You make more mental mistakes. You get more frustrated when you're tired. Well, as great a shape as he is in this year, he was tired tonight. Understandably so. And I think that's what you're kind of getting at is tonight, that fatigue, the officials, not giving him the calls that he feels like he deserves and probably almost certainly does deserve, him not getting those, it boiled over, and it was the first time we saw it, or it seemed like it was affecting him.
And it held him back. And look, I just say this because how many times in the fourth quarter has he been nails
all the time?
So
every time
it worked out in the end. In overtime, he needed to be who he ended up being.
You know what the difference was in overtime is that DeAndre Ayton fouled out.
Yep,
that too.
Yep,
that too.
But the thing is that Jokic to me, like his eyes looked a little dark. Like it looked like he had like a late night 2K session that maybe went a little longer than he was. But it's also, I mean, like you're on the road. He probably didn't sleep that well in the Motel 6 or the
Motel 6. That's what they're in
for the Four Seasons.
Crumbles really cutting the corners here.
If there's anyone on the team that gets a night, it's Jokic. It's Jokic.
Yeah, I know. We're like, oh man, poor Jokic.
That
he only
being said,
scored 29 points.
He was almost the king of the game. Like we actually awarded it to him, and then we unawarded it to him. I think.
Welcome, Johnny.
Oh man, you poured those way higher than Kale poured.
Did you pour yourself one?
God, yeah.
Hey, no, I have no more glass. He did. That's the same way I poured.
All right. Well,
so a victory shot,
this
man.
Is Johnny from Twitter fame. You all know him. Johnny Diamond Bull, right?
To double overtime.
Oh my
God. Double overtime, back to back, and now back to back wins in Phoenix, back to back road wins, double overtime.
Here's to a life of alcoholism. We're all down the path. Let's go.
I'm not drinking to that actually, but to Serbia. I'm sorry I criticized him.
It's so good. It gets better every time.
That one was worse than yesterday.
Delicious.
But that aftertaste is so good, though.
Yeah, it sure is. Really tastes good.
I'm gonna go another place you guys don't really expect me to go here tonight,
Oh,
but
God.
that is this was a back-to-back. Murray almost didn't play. He does play. There's one guy that I feel like absolutely. There's really two guys I feel like should have taken this night off, or the Nuggets should have had them take the night off. Will Barton was one. We'll talk about him in a second. But Paul Millsap tonight, I thought, like you talk about everybody looking fatigued. Paul Millsap, I can't imagine what he gave you tonight couldn't have been given to you by Isaiah Hartenstein, who was, in hindsight, and I didn't think about this going in. I mean, I did think about Millsap maybe not playing, but this would have been a great opportunity for Hartenstein to try to get some more minutes and you to say, you know, maybe we lose, but whatever. But I just can't imagine Hartenstein could have been worse than what Paul Millsap was tonight. He was stuck in the mud all night.
He was bad. He, I mean, the greatest crime of the night was committed by Paul Millsap when he took the most beautiful Jokic full court water polo pass, dropped it right into his breadbasket, and then he went up so weak and got blocked. We didn't even get a basket out of it.
It really was one of the best full court passes we've seen from Jokic.
It was perfect.
He throws those long distance. So I don't know how you guys feel. Early in this year, he was like a little off on those. And when I say early, I mean like 3 times. And then he was
Would you say
immediately.
he was like a little disappointed?
I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. Me personally, I would choose a different word. But ever since then, now he throws those ones. And
I understand the power of language.
Sometimes he throws them on like a back leg or something, and you're like, oh, he's forcing this. And somehow it falls so perfectly. Like
unbelievable.
There's like
the one in Millsap.
Exactly a basketball's circumference of an angle for you to drop it into, and he does. And you're just like, how the hell does he do that? And he had that one. And to your point, Millsap was like
so weak.
It was so weak.
The worst part about like watching basketball from afar is that when you're able to just see things happening, you're like, this is not going to go well. And just like you have to watch the entire thing unfold. And you're like, dude, he's going to get swatted. Get swatted. And you're just left there with like.
So Millsap all year, I think, has just clearly looked like he's lost a lot. And maybe it comes to him, you know, players talk often about how you build towards the end of the year, and maybe towards the end of the year it works. But right now, I just don't know what you could have possibly thought you were going to get from him tonight, and what you ended up getting from him that you couldn't have just said, "Hey, Isaiah Harden." Well, you got to. Well, it's not because of him. I mean, he was. they were murdered when he was on the court. The next place I want to go is not to our king of the game because I think we're still making a graphic, but to. Well, I'm still going to go to Michael Porter Jr. because tonight, to me, was a lot about Michael Porter being a part of it. And if you want to talk about the best thing to come out of this besides the dub, 35 minutes for Michael Porter. He only took 9 shots in those 35 minutes because I feel like he's still trying to figure out where he belongs. But he was a team high plus 19 tonight, gets 14 points, 11 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. And I'll tell you what stood out to me was not the like gorgeous jumpers that he hit. That like there was one time.
They didn't stand out to you?
Well, they did stand out to me.
They stand out to me every time I close my eyes.
The one he had in the corner. I, honest to God, like laughed uncontrollably when he like knocked it down because it was like
aren't even remotely set.
No, because it looked like it was in from the moment he shot it. Like it was kind of almost a heat check looking 3, and you're like, dude, that's in, isn't it? And sure enough, it falls like directly into the center.
Dropped it to touch less stuff on the way in.
Tonight, I felt like
stuffless.
Michael Porter, as talented as he still is the young guy trying to fit in. And I feel like nights like tonight, though they might be frustrating because we all feel like he could score 25 if they gave him more shots, doing stuff like this is part of what helps you build trust because he knocked down the few shots he was given. He goes for 5 for 9. It's a great percentage, including the 3-pointers. He goes 3 of 4 from 3, which is like Denver desperately needs those threes. But then he just did all the other things. Those 11 boards, the blocks, the steals, the hustle plays. Like he did a bunch of the other stuff while not trying to look for his shot beyond what was reasonable, you know, given how the game flowed. And to me, this was an A+ game from him, given the expectation.
All you need to know is that he was in during winning time. Like, the fact that he went from not with the team for like an unbelievable amount of time to 1 game ramp up, and like he's in the most important part of the game. And Malone trusts him,
and he earned it. I mean, I don't know if that was the game plan tonight. But he earned those minutes.
And he was reserved in overtime. I mean, it's not like he was like, it's my time.
Right.
He looked for Murray. He looked for Jokic. I thought he was incredible on the glass tonight. Yeah. And not just the rebounds he did get, but all the sort of loose balls he forced in on the action. Defensively, I thought he was solid, by his standards and maybe just in general. And so I thought it was a really, really good game from him.
I don't think his
Flat
plus
out.
19 was a coincidence either, because if you talk about, okay, that first 6 minutes of the third quarter, Denver couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. There's no spacing because nobody has. It's clunky. There's not. Jokic only 6 assists again. This is now a bit of a trend that his assists have been going down. And I think part of this is teams sitting on the paint or whatever. There were multiple times out there. Michael Porter will not get any stat for this, but where his guy is just chest to chest on him at the 3-point line, and Jokic has this room to operate.
Right.
Guys have room to cut. Murray has room to get into the paint. So to me, I thought this was. I know there's other games with Michael Porter that pop off a little bit more, and he had a little run in there that really popped off with scoring, but to me, this is what we needed to see.
I think you nailed it. His impact doesn't just have to be the points he's scoring, and Jokic talked about this last night. He called Michael Porter Jr., quote, a runoff, meaning a runoff
Right,
guy.
yep.
This is not just a guy, like, you pass it to Paul Millsap, he's wide open on the wing, he's hitting 40% of those shots.
Yep.
But you pass it to Michael Porter Jr., he's wide open on the wing, 3 guys are scrambling. Or he wasn't open on the wing because Nader was glued to him, and it just gives, it just opens things up for Jokic.
The funniest play of the night to me for Michael Porter, and there was a couple that just made me laugh out loud, but the one that was maybe the funniest was when he gets isolated against Mikal Bridges on the wing. And in real time, I'm like, okay, that's a good defender. That's going to be tough. He just goes one dribble
behind
around
him.
him and dunks it on him like he wasn't even there. And you're like, this dude, I mean, and this is why I think these things are important, because there really is a crawl, walk, run series for him. And tonight, he crawled and he excelled at crawling.
Yeah,
and you
for
do
him,
this.
it's like-
You do this for the whole road trip. You get to walk next, and we can already know once he starts walking, it's going to be great.
For him, it's crawl, step back, and then just like tomahawk.
Step back, and then pull up Jay. So A+ grade from me. I don't know. We'll see what Vote has to say.
As the actual the guy
Now
who
it
signs
has
the
to be
grade.
an
It better be. No,
It
he
would
was.
not.
Would you say it was disappointing?
Wow, shots
I
fired.
hate this job.
I know you really do. Let's go to Jamal Murray tonight, because
you back.
we talked about Jokic gutting through what was a tough night. I thought Jamal,
Yes.
maybe even more so, toughed through what was not a good night from him. I mean, or not an easy night from him. It ended up being very good. 26 points from him, 6 rebounds, 5 assists,
at this.
only 2 turnovers, and here we have the
It was.
king
I
of the
would
game.
say it was a royal game for him.
It was a royal game, and he is our king of the game. Easily could have given it to Jokic with 29, 22, and 6, but the reason Murray gets it, both guys gutted through this, took what they could get when they could get it, but that shot.
The
guys,
shot!
It's easy to think because Denver blew him out in the second overtime, and Jay Crowder hits that miracle shot in the first overtime, but Jamal Murray hit a miracle of his own that was just an absolute
Ridiculous shot.
unbelievable.
Bubble Murray
What was
shot.
what do you think the best shot of the night was?
That one.
That one.
That was
that
that
one
one.
or this Rakia thing? That we
Oh,
just
yeah.
talked
Oh, it's definitely not the rock shot.
Okay.
There is
That
a
one
little
was
bit,
like on pace with whichever the side of the backboard shot was earlier. In the
there's
year.
something about Murray where it's like,
Pandemic P.
it almost doesn't matter what form he's in, how banged up he is. Like, there's a moment you need to rise to, he'll find something.
I know.
He just does. He just digs deep.
This is the same conversation we had all last year with Jokic, where it's like he just doesn't look like he's having fun. We talk all year, and then it's like when it matters, it's like these guys are beyond. They're like the most. They're just nails, dude. It's like, so we're gonna spend all season talking about whether or not Jamal is interested. Playoffs come, like that's Jamal right there. That's him.
So he really gutted through it tonight and got some things. And coming into the game, we thought maybe he was going to rest. Maybe he was not going to play at all. Would you guys be surprised? So now they get a night off. You travel to Dallas, which is another team you're trying to catch up to. In fact, I think they leapfrog Dallas tonight in the standings, but that can flop on Monday's game if they lose. Would you be surprised to see key pieces rest, or do you feel like that day off is all
I
they
would
needed?
be very surprised. They're in go mode. Like
Yeah.
they've had the entire first half of the season off. They don't have the luxury of being able to.
I still might give Paul Millsap a night off, in part because I think
that
Denver might be
that's-
better without it.
Yeah, I don't think that's what you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Millsap, when you say key pieces, Millsap absolutely needs some time. But, dude, apparently all you need is a bunch of bulky bandages on your shoulder and you're fixed.
That's true. Well, even Barton, too. So he was the other part of just sort of the older. It's funny to think of Barton as part of the old crew, but with how banged up he is, he's playing even older than what he is. But tonight he goes 0 of 5. He didn't have it either. I mean, he was pretty
bad
awful.
tonight.
2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 point.
1 point.
But only 21 minutes. Malone had his finger on the pulse of both of those guys. Played a little more than I would have liked, but after that third quarter, it's like, you know what? Load management for the rest of however long this game goes. You guys are out for, and I think that was appropriate.
I wouldn't mind seeing some rest, but I think I would be surprised. It just seems to me like they're playing through this.
Well, on the other side, here's why I want to see it. And we'll take our break. But on the other side, You know what I really like seeing? Well, Michael Porter closing.
Oh.
But there are two combinations that I love to see tonight that should Barton rest and should Paul Millsap rest. I think we would get a lot of minutes of both combos. And win or lose, to me, that would be a huge win. We'll talk about those combos on the other side.
After the break?
After the break.
Guess what? It's an ad-free
It's
Saturday
an ad
show.
free. Oh my God!
Let's
you're
go right
there.
into it,
Dude.
baby.
Let's just
it.
take a break. Just,
Yeah.
let's just hang
We'll
out
just
here.
sit here for 2 minutes. You guys can
Let's just
bully
smoke
us.
all right.
No, you can kill that. I totally forgot.
Do you want to advertise anything in your own personal life?
DraftKings Sportsbook, of course, we want to remind you that one. So the first lineup I want to talk about, we saw in the first quarter, and we saw it again in the second and the third quarter when Denver, in both instances, Denver desperately needed like a stabilization, and they got it both times. And that was Monte Morris and Jamal Murray as your backcourt, Michael Porter Jr. on the wing, JaMychal Green and Jokic in your front court. My God. First of all, logically speaking, that's a lineup that makes sense because you want to get MPJ, Murray, and Jokic on the court. Okay, you're going to need two very solid but extremely low usage role players who know their role. Who better than Monte Morris? Okay, Mr. Nugget. He understands his roles better than anybody. And JaMychal Green, who I'd put like right next to them. You get the core plus Mr.'s Nugget.
Hell yeah. I think that so far has been the Nuggets' 5 best players.
Nugget.
Not just a fun lineup, but like those are the 5 guys that I just think are, talent circle of trust mesh that you'd sort of like to see out there. I loved seeing that on Unleashed tonight.
And it was pretty. I want to see what the numbers say, but I'm guessing that just that lineup in maybe 7 or 8 minutes was like a plus 10 tonight or plus 12.
Yeah.
But it was a meaningful one. It was a stop the bleeding. We need to get something going, and it stepped right into it. So this is why I said if Millsap and Barton were to rest, and they both just look like they need a little rest, that lineup might start. That lineup. Well, Gary Harris would probably be in there either, but that lineup would definitely be on the court for significant minutes. And again, win or lose. That's a lineup that I think is going to be in your back pocket for the rest of the season. Once you get over whatever hump it is to get familiarity and everything else, that's going to be one of your go-tos.
This is the point in the season where you're not just putting people in because that's who's available.
Right.
Like you are able to decide
that's a
who
good
the
point.
right players to be putting in is. And the fact that our bench is like so malleable to begin with, like it gives you that amount of flexibility. Like we are going to see a lot of nights where there's no Hartenstein, there's no Faku on other nights, and like being able to stagger these. I mean, it's cool. It allows Malone to actually like coach the team how he wants to.
And JaMychal Green tonight, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 of 8 from the field, 2 of 6 from the 3-point line. Like he's giving you good minutes, man, and I really like when they find him in those minutes specifically. I don't know how much I love him at center in the backup lineups. Like those feel a little bit like neutrals at best. I wouldn't mind seeing Hartenstein a little bit more. Part of me wonders, guys, Paul Millsap is so reliable, but part of me wonders if we get more minutes with Jokic and JaMychal Green together and more minutes with Hartenstein and no power forward or Michael Porter as power forward. To me, Millsap, he does have a role in this. I'm not saying you cut him out, but I wonder if he's so much he looks like his role might need to be significantly diminished than what it is so far and what it has been for years past.
Or maybe take some of those opportunities to just experiment at the very least, right? Like you could look at the Phoenix matchup or even this upcoming Dallas matchup. You go, that's not a Millsap matchup.
Right.
There are increasingly few of those, decreasingly many of those.
Yeah.
But it's a good time to just say, hey, let's try this. Let's try this.
The other lineup along similar lines, so that's a more traditional lineup with 2 bigs, JaMychal and Jokic. You take JaMychal out of that, you move Michael Porter now to stretch 4, and you insert, I think for the most part it was Gary Harris.
Yep.
So you get Monte, Murray, Gary as your 1, 2, 3. PJ was also in there for a little bit, and I just like that one as well because, again, you get Michael Porter in there, and you get 2 guys. When it's Gary and Monte, I feel like 2 guys that, again, know their role a lot better. When it's PJ, it's hit or miss a little bit more, but nonetheless, it gives you another defender. So I just feel like those are lineups that Denver probably needs to find more minutes for as time goes forward.
And I imagine they will. I mean, like when you see success, I mean, it's just... Well, who knows, right?
Do you guys remember 2 or 3 years ago when the current starting lineup with Millsap and Barton just never, for whatever, like every terrible thing that happened, and I kept talking about like this is the lineup I wanted, and I was right about that, by the way. After we got it, it was like 2.5 years of that being an incredible lineup. Now that one's a little expired, and I hope we don't take as long to arrive at this one. Campazzo, I thought, gave you good minutes. It's funny because he didn't play a ton. I think just 7 minutes in last game. He gets 15 in this one. But what were we all watching for? The Chris Paul Campazzo, like
We were waiting for Chris Paul to punch him in the face.
Well, Chris Paul really went at him in their
Tried
first
to.
matchup a couple weeks back, and in tonight's game, and in the last game, even though it was on smaller minutes, Campazzo didn't look out of place against him. In fact, he had some possessions where he really flustered him, sped him up a little bit, and did his role, and that was really good to see.
I thought he was really good defensively tonight, not just on Chris Paul, but all around. I mean, some of those rotations, still a guy you can shoot right over the top of, but he was a menace, man. He was flying around, and Chris Paul is he's the man, but you can get into his head a little bit. I mean, Chris Paul will get a little chirpy. I don't want to say get into his head, but what I mean is
pretty damn good.
what I simply mean is, for a brief moment there, Chris Paul was more concerned with like drawing a call on Faku than he was running that pick and roll, just for a little stretch.
That's what you want, dude. That's that gnat.
Yes,
that's like what you want out of that, man. I love it.
I mean, Chris Paul tonight was a plus 13, which is wild. He played 42 minutes, which means they were really bad in the minutes he was not on the court tonight. Watching this guy, do you guys have Chris Paul envy? Because I wonder what you could have got.
I don't have that much Chris Paul. You guys,
That's wild to me.
Love him,
Dude,
him. To me, it was like when you guys were like lusting over him. He had 7 points. I was like,
he had 21 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, and was a plus 13.
He lost 2 games in a row.
It's just like
It's almost like the Nuggets are better than them. I mean, come on.
I know, but
every bucket
I don't know.
Phoenix scored.
Yeah, you took him out. Denver wins by like 50.
But I'm saying
games.
I like him, but I don't get like why you guys are like obsessed.
Well,
with
here's what I like about it. I like point guards that can get to their spot. And if you give a guy like that Jokic, I mean, it would be curtains. And on top of that, he's just crafty defensively.
He's super crafty.
And he's also just like, I still feel like Denver is searching for this with Jokic and Murray. He knows how to get people in line. He knows how to just like, everybody, we're business here. We're business right now. And I feel like Jokic and Murray are slowly developing into that. But Chris Paul, I think, accelerates it. Are you kidding me? Like, if you just swapped out Gary Harris and Chris Paul, I think the Nuggets are like, well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about trading MPJ, but the price tag wasn't that high because Chris Paul's contract was so high.
There was a time it was trade low for sure.
It was, you could have had him. So he's a guy that I have Chris Paul envy. I'm sorry.
I know.
Listen,
I like Chris Paul, but it's like a little much in the up here.
My Chris Paul take is that I respectfully disagree with our homie Espo, and he said that Chris Paul is not the biggest factor in what's going on in Phoenix. That dude has his fingerprints on everything.
Yeah. So where else should we go on this game? I guess one spot to go is just Denver now moves to 9-7, 2 games above 500.
2 games, maybe.
And we talked about this road trip being 3-2 would have been a great road trip. 2-3 would have been a bad one. It was like there's a real line where it's like flips on that. You couldn't go 2.5. So now that Denver gets their first 2, you're in a great position now to finish this road trip above 500. So you just get one more of these.
This is the revenge trip, dude.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, Dallas. Yeah,
Dallas like stole that game from us.
Yeah, you hope they're motivated for this.
Dude, we owe them.
They look like they're pretty exhausted. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't look so motivated. But we'll see.
But you look at the standings now, guys, and it's funny because we've been in the like if you looking at the standings has really been a drag this first 3 weeks.
I'm telling you, like up until about 3 days ago, I didn't look at the standings.
This is like after Christmas when you don't step on a scale. You're just like, I don't want to know.
Man,
I know it's not good.
The thing is,
it's always past Christmas for me.
Or the bank account when you're like, like the checkout, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to look at the bank yet because I know it's not great.
Yeah, but you just had to focus on the games behind column because that was never actually that depressing.
Never.
Because it's still early in the season.
But I didn't even know that it was. I assumed it was
literally
depressing,
wasn't.
And then I looked. I was like, oh, not so bad.
As the Nuggets currently sit right now, they are the 5 seed and just a half game behind the Portland Trailblazers. Actually, just a percentage point behind the Portland Trailblazers, who we suspect will probably have a bit of a slide here. So it is early. These things will flip. They lose on Monday and they fall right back down to 10th. But it is nice just to see them back up there. And then when you talk about point differentials or whatever, Denver plus 4.2 continues to seem a lot higher than what their win-loss record. So if we go forward now, throw these 2 games out.
Get them out.
3 games left on the 5-game road trip. Vote, what is par now? For the next 3. So
what does that word mean? Do you know?
Nope. I don't play golf.
Yeah.
2?
2 is par.
Yeah.
Wow. Because it's not easy. Miami's struggled a little bit so far this year, but you also San Antonio, Dallas. I guess you are right. Those are all winnable.
Those are all winnable.
Quote unquote winnable.
Those are all winnable, and they owe Dallas one.
I'm telling you, the Nuggets are back, baby. Like I am now to the point again where I just expect them to win every night. Like
I don't know.
We were we're talking about the team that went to the Western Conference Finals, that lost only to the Lakers, that embarrassed the mighty Clippers. Like, there's no team that I'm like now in this state of mind with with our battleship fully assembled. Like, I'm not worried anymore. Like, early on last week, I was like, can we beat anybody? Like,
I know, yeah.
Can we beat any team in the
It wasn't
NBA?
last week. It was a little before that.
Whatever it was
maybe 2
like,
weeks ago,
what are we doing? What is this?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. This feels like I never thought we were going to lose this game.
Really?
I didn't.
When Denver was down
you
3,
are insane.
yeah, I was gonna say when Denver was down 3 and Murray had to hit like a falling out of bounds crazy shot over 8. I thought they were gonna lose.
To be
I thought
fair,
they
to be
lost
fair on
even
that,
after it
I
went
didn't
in.
have time to like really process the idea that we were going to lose at that point. But I mean, just in general, I just felt good about the Nuggets' chances all night long.
I it's such a silly, almost consequentialist like angle here, but I really felt like if Denver gets these two, I'm gonna have a hard time not feeling good about them again, and that's where I'm at. I think the bench is competent. Like, Jokic is the MVP, and it's still a little bit of whack-a-mole from the other starters, but there's enough aggregate talent, and it was nice to the first point of the show to see them win this way and not just score 140 points.
Let's hype a little hot box and hot takes, a little hype cast here for Michael Porter, because again, we're talking about tonight. What was so impressive about Michael Porter was that he didn't try too much. Once he gets down to this part of it, guys, he's so freaking good. Like, some of these shots he hits are
so
just
good, dude.
absolutely insane.
He's so good.
Absolutely insane. Some of the
telling you,
shots
like,
that he takes and makes.
Michael Porter Jr. is like why you should watch basketball.
Yeah, he kind of is, man.
Dude, I mean, Jokic
His shot is beautiful.
The beautiful game is Jokic, but there's nothing more hype than an MPJ hot streak, man. It's
my
just
God.
every 3-pointer that he hit, like, just forced us all up out of our seats. Brendan was flexing like really aggressively at the window every time, and he was right to do it.
And the thing about
MPJ
it
is
is
the best.
The thing about it is you get the sense of, like, once he figures out all the aspects of it, those hot streaks don't feel like with Jamal Murray. And this is nothing. People are gonna think I'm being harsh on Murray. I don't feel like he is destined for 30 points night in, night out. I just don't.
Right.
Sometimes he gets hot, and
Sure.
I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a big quarter. But I never feel like Michael Porter. I feel like he's going to have one hot streak per night at least. And on a good night, he's going to have 2 or 3 of those.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems like it's so easy for him to get hot. So, again, I know this is, a lot of fans, I think, get upset when they're like, well, why not just give it to him all the time? Like, you really has to build this base of learning how to win all the other things. And then you earn your teammates' trust to, hey, let's give him a little bit more here. Let's feed him.
It's hard to stay patient because then he hits that corner
Right.
3 you were talking about, and you go, oh, right. Like, what are we talking?
Yeah, what are we
Was he a
do-
good defender? How's
What
he gonna
are we
fit?
talking about?
The goal is to put the ball through the hoop.
Yeah.
We're like, he was a little
Yeah.
his defensive rotation was like, dude, give me the ball in the 3. Like, just let him shoot 3-pointers, dude. He's amazing.
Michael Porter starting, so he's come off the bench now. Will Barton didn't play a lot of minutes. Some part of this doesn't matter if Michael Porter's going to play, that many minutes, whatever. Yeah, I think Harrison's going to come over.
Yeah, Harrison said there's
Yeah.
a fire quote from MPJ.
Oh my
Hell yeah.
God, I can't wait for it. But it almost doesn't matter if he's going to play 35 minutes, Barton's going to play 20 or whatever. Then it all works out. But would you try to bring him into the starting lineup now, or would you continue with this a little bit longer?
No, I would absolutely put him on the start because I want to get to the final form of the Nuggets as soon as possible. I want them to start gelling. Like, I don't want this like transition. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a starter. He's going to take Will Barton's place. Like, just put Will Barton as 6th man of the year.
Kale, will you close the window?
Oh,
Is that a stiff breeze? Oh wait, no, that's just a gust of wind. That's what that is, a gust of wind.
Unbelievable.
Well, before we get to win though, if you were, do you think Malone agrees with you?
Does Michael Malone agree with my takes on basketball? That's gonna be a no. He does not. But
Vote. Would you start MPJ starting effective immediately?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. What's the goal of this season? How does he
Yeah.
look with the starters?
Thank you, Vote.
Harrison, before you tell us what everybody else had to say, would you start Michael Porter starting Monday?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
He's ready. He's
All right.
totally ready.
clearly
I
ready.
love when Wynn's so confident about
I mean,
something.
me too.
I
So,
like
all
it.
right, I hear there's a fire quote. Should we start with the fire quote?
Oh,
Yeah, I love this quote from
I'm gonna
Michael Porter Jr.
Hold on, let me get ready for this quote.
So it's I got to provide the context here. So first, Michael Malone on Michael Porter Jr. He was talking about his game tonight. He liked how he played, liked how he's developing, and he said that one thing I respect about Michael the most, he has a huge passion for the game of basketball. And for him to be out as long as he's been out and come in and play the way he played tonight is a testament to him staying ready. And then Malone follows that up and says, he knows that Mike wants to be an all-around player. He doesn't want him to just be a scorer. He doesn't want to be one-dimensional. He wants to be an all-around player. So I turn that back around and ask Mike about that comment and what fuels him to be an all-around player. And he goes, I'm not here to just put up stats. I'm here to win. And I'm also here to be one of the best players and be the best version of myself. I know I've been given the capability to be an all-around player, and I don't want to settle for being one-dimensional.
Wow. Love it. Love it, man.
He just really kept. There were a couple times I thought that'd be the end of the quote. He really just kept going. I love it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, Harrison, and this is what you're speaking to, and I think Malone is speaking to, because a lot of times you get a young player that has so much to learn like him, and that this exact thing is not true. They want the wrong things. I think Michael Porter looks like a guy who doesn't, because he's still learning the game. He missed 2 years. He really hadn't played college ball. He only played high school.
He's been humbled.
He's been, but beyond that, I think before all of that, I think had he not gotten hurt, had he played college, the thing people don't realize, in my opinion, this is me reading Michael Porter.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
That's a new one, I think. Just right out the stand.
I don't even know how. There we go.
Adam lifted his and it. Whatever.
I think Michael Porter truly wants to be great. Like I think he's extremely driven as an individual. Like and I'm sure a lot of this is scoring, because let's be honest, that's his best skill. He's one of the best in the world at it.
Yeah.
But I think he is driven not just to be a Jordan Clarkson, not just to be good players. I think he really is driven to be like the best player in the NBA.
I think he's been driven since he popped up as the number one recruit, or like identified as one of those guys when he was in like 6th grade.
You ever watch those videos of him as like sophomore year at the ABCD camp or whatever, and he's going one-on-one with guys and just murdering them? Absolutely. And there's like Dennis Smith Jr. It's like actual guys that made it into the NBA.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about it is he's like never happy. And I know it sounds funny, but it's because you could tell that he's at work. Like everybody else is there having fun. Like, oh, I'm going to try this crazy thing.
It's his job to just murder
he's out
these
there
guys.
like focused on like what worked, what didn't. How do I perfect this move I'm trying? And that's why.
Another thing about that is he's had a lot of pressure on him to be at the top of his field since he was that age.
Right.
He's had eyes on him forever. He's had expectations forever.
Right.
And I got to think that part of him feels like him missing the first season with the injury, having to really just work his way into the rotation, fight for minutes. Like, I've got to think that's fueling him.
What do we got over here?
I'm just still getting yelled at.
Fight in
You're
the
still
bar?
getting yelled at?
Yeah.
What do people say? I want to hear some of these
I think
angry
they
tweets.
think I was saying Jokic was bad.
So
I guess
yesterday
Conor McGregor
you
got
were
knocked out.
Conor McGregor got knocked out?
Yeah, that was the opposite
I
of the
lost
promo.
a lot of money on DraftKings.
yeah.
RK was screaming to fade that.
He really was. He really was.
DraftKings finally they pulled a fast one on us.
Do you guys like McGregor?
I do, actually.
I think he's really funny, but I kind of don't like him. Like he's like a guy I
he's
like
a foil.
to hate.
Yeah, he's a foil.
Michael Malone, out of
against him.
context on the post-game Zoom, there's only one Conor McGregor. That's a quote.
Jeez. Michael Malone liking the Irish fighter? No way. I never would have guessed this. This is really a shocker. So yesterday you were an honorary Serbian. Today
I'm out.
You're getting kicked off the show.
I've been told I have to do 3 shots to make up for it. And
you're not truly upset about this.
I know.
Brendan's in his feelings.
I'm just
in his
like
feelings.
I'm just getting to this
Brendan,
point where I'm realizing you like never tweet. Like I'm right, but because I picked a slightly wrong word, it's gonna be a terrible night for me.
People are so mean online.
Be
Just
nice.
get over
Can you
yourself.
guys be nice to Brendan, please? But
I'm sensitive.
As a favor to me, D-line, be nice to Brendan, please. Look at him. He's got a coat that Adam likes. He's been
on
complimenting
Team
it all
Jokic,
night.
guys.
I'm on team.
I'm on. I
So
think he's good.
when is it that you turned on Jokic and started liking him?
Yeah, the one thing I don't like about Brendan is how much he hates Jokic.
Yeah, he's
but,
always
like,
saying terrible things
But
about
at the same, he's got other faults too. You could focus
Big market
on.
vote.
He moved to Denver solely to disparage Jokic closer. That's why he moved here. That's so funny.
I think my dad's watching this episode. Sorry,
Oh,
Dad.
so sad.
It's usually I'm better usually.
I'm so the worst person that when I see someone down, I'm like, "What's all done?"
Yeah, you're like, oh wow, I don't have to try as hard to get them started to go down. I can
There's
just
my
jump
dad
on
in the
top.
chat piling on. He says Brendan has never liked Jokic.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
John, what are you doing?
No, the
This
truth
wedding
always
is
comes out,
horseshit.
they say.
The truth does always come out.
John, do you feel like you could have done a better job? I do. I think you could have.
Man, this is some real Saturday vibes. I'm crying.
Now I see why you guys
Crying in
asked
the
me
club.
to come back so quickly off the Zoom. The show was really going off the rails.
This
guess.
is ad free, so we have no
We had
safe
no
haven.
break. We needed
Yeah.
that like 6 minutes of break.
You know what,
like,
Kale? Can I get a second shot? This
Did I get a first shot?
Yeah.
Actually, you're gonna get the winner
Oh, yeah. Brendan's looking to win back the love of his Serbian
Lost my
followers.
hair.
Harrison, was there
credibility.
anything else though from Michael Porter or?
There was something really interesting from Michael Malone. Quote, I'll just read the whole quote.
Okay.
Quote, I have to do a better job. The game should have never gone into a second overtime. Up 3, we had chances to take a foul. Crowder makes the 3, but our guys never hung their heads. We continued to fight.
Hey, I like it.
Fight.
Yeah.
That makes me think there is something to like. Would it have been fun if Denver won both of these games by 40 points? Yes, but I think it might have actually been more impactful for the Nuggets that they had to win 2 games a little bit ugly. Like that's a little bit more. Hey, remember we can do this. Like we're actually really good at this exact thing.
you bring the bottle?
So I think there's something to it.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
You want one
although,
too? You want more Rakia?
Yeah, dude, it's fun. It's Saturday night.
This is rock and smell it.
Not Rakia on a Saturday.
Oh man, how do we have an
it's-
endless supply to Rakia? Like what a bar.
It's because it's tough to drink.
It's because you don't drink a lot of it at a time.
The bottle lasts you a while.
I like that quote from Michael Malone. Speaking of which, when he says, like, not that this would have changed the game. Lob play for Gary Harris with
Yeah,
1
let's
second
talk about
left. Can we
that.
talk about that?
I think you could run that 1,000 times
Yeah.
and he wouldn't convert it.
A single time.
I tweeted that they got a better look with 0.1 seconds left on Jokic's little flailing tap that
so
they
true.
got on that sideline out of bounds.
They should have subbed Faku in and run the lob for him. So if we're gonna
They
get dumb,
should have literally done anything else. Like,
had Bull inbound it to Faku.
Adam, you're getting roasted for not taking a shot with
That's fine.
Shot with the
Sorry,
boys?
somebody.
Adam's fine being roasted.
I don't mind. Bring it. To
Back-to-back wins, back-to-back shots, and screw Adam. Let's go.
There you go. I
so good.
really making me jealous over here.
Adam, you really
you know,
messed up.
I gotta say, Rocky, it's growing on me. It's growing
That's what
on
I
me.
said the other day.
think I
but
like
Yeah,
it.
me too. I can't.
Not bad.
Zavelli, by the way. Oh,
Is that
my
you
God.
good? All
Yeah,
right,
in an
guys.
Italian accent. That's good.
Hey,
Anything else you guys are feeling here?
yeah, guys, what do you want us to talk about in the chat? There's a lot of people have been saying that the.
I would like to hear you guys talk about the start of the third quarter.
Oh man, we already talked about that. I mean, why
Why
do you
we
want to
talking
take us back
about
to
old
old
stuff,
time?
man?
Yeah, to
Yeah,
old
Kel
stuff.
wants to talk about the
I
third
honestly don't have
quarter.
any notes about it other than it was horrible. It was like I don't know why they stuck with it so long.
Yeah,
Basketball
that was
is my
my
favorite
thing.
sport.
I don't know like what Michael Malone was waiting for. I guess a made shot just to
Yeah.
do something,
Yeah.
make a substitution, do something. The only other thing I had from the post game, our guy Matt Moore asked Michael Malone, any thought about maybe giving Jamal or Nikola or somebody a day off in Dallas? And Michael Malone goes, in regards to Jamal, quote, he'll be off tomorrow.
I like it.
That's pretty funny. You know what though? It is, but it is kind of true. Look, I really would not be surprised if Paul Millsap played his last back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if he never plays a back-to-back this season. I mean, what's the point? Honestly, what's the point? He doesn't have it in him, and that's not a knock
I
on
kind
him.
of
He's
hope
my
he played
age.
his last front to back too. Like, he's just
Come on, don't be too harsh. And same with Will Barton. Like, you know, I have to give a shout to Matt Moore because he really thought Nuggets should rest. Now, he said Jokic and Murray. Murray, I understood, but Jokic, I thought keep playing him, although Jokic looked freaking tired tonight, too.
He did. He
But
did
I
look
do
tired.
think that Millsap and Barton could have easily taken this night off, and the game would have, I think it would have been a Nuggets win, too. So
Yeah.
maybe those guys, you know, we don't see it too much going
we
forward.
needed 2 overtimes. We needed every second of the regulation. Like, I don't know. Like the
This was an exhausting back-to-back.
dude, I'm tired.
It really was
I'm very
exhausting.
tired. I think a lot of it has to do with
This job's
the,
tough. It's tough. You know,
I think a lot of it has
only
to
the
do- yeah.
strongest can do it.
Wow.
And
That's why Dev isn't here.
Yeah.
you weak. But the reason I feel so tired is because of all of the Rakia. If
Yeah.
I'm being honest,
I could go for some more, actually. I'm ready to
could
go.
you?
I'm ready to go.
Wind's ready.
Dallas, by the way, loses
new life.
tonight. They lose to Houston 133-108. So they'll be coming off of a loss. Denver with a little momentum. That should really make for a great game. We're going to start the week off. Kale's pouring more shots for this.
Yeah, you
That
get
one- that one- Kale, you haven't picked up on like everything I say is
Yo, but
sarcastic.
it's like
Brendan did the same thing last night, and I made him take a
Yeah,
second shot.
you can't say.
Careful what you ask for.
You can't say bomb in an airport. And you can't say Rocky around Kale. Otherwise,
If everybody in the comments tells me to take this shot, I'll take the shot.
Well, people are gonna be like, no.
I wonder if
pragmatic Harrison takes here. Like
they're like, we don't want to
only if
see
you
it.
can be responsible while doing so. Like,
They're like, don't you have to wake up early tomorrow?
I guess they don't want a gamer. Right?
I
They want a sloppy
gotta
gamer.
wake up early to make a bunch of bets on DraftKings.
Yeah, you have to wake up. That's at
right.
1
Okay.
o'clock.
Yeah. All right. Last, before we get out of here, guys, let's just do a little calibration. I think the Utah Jazz right now are.
Look at this. Take it, do it. Shot. Jake, take it.
I just set the comments on fire.
Oh wow.
Apparently, if I could just to do a quick survey here, I think they want you to take the shot.
It's a yes. It's a take.
Let me just take a yes. I'm doing a count. Yep, it's 5,000 to 0. You should do the shot.
Quick calibration. I think the Nuggets are certainly behind the Lakers, Clippers, and Jazz. Not necessarily in that order, but I think those three teams thus far, to me, I think all three of those teams have looked better than the Nuggets at this point.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Do you guys have any objection? I'm saying like right now, if everybody had to play tomorrow at 100%, I would take those three over Denver right now.
Utah looks
The
great.
Lakers, the Clippers, and the Jazz.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think so.
I agree.
Well, that can change, of course, over the course of the season, but right now.
we beat the Jazz. The Jazz barely beat us.
No, Eric, I don't think you understand how wins and losses work. They lost.
I know, but they didn't have
lost to
MPJ.
Jazz.
They didn't have MPJ.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm telling you, like this team is new.
I need to see
They've been
about
born anew.
3 or 4 more MPJ games like tonight.
I understand you're being pragmatic. You need to be the level-headed one of the ship, but I'm telling you, the Nuggets are back.
Portland Trailblazers. No chance.
Are done.
Well, not only that, but there's no chance. I think Denver's better than them. Phoenix, I think we proved this tonight. Do you have a Portland take?
Well, look, and they also Nurkic is hurt and McCollum's hurt, so Portland's in a real
yeah.
danger.
I think Phoenix and Denver are actually pretty even. I think they're very even.
Are you
They
saying
should
that 'cause
play a
they
game to
played-
determine which one's better.
Are you saying that because they hit overtime?
I mean,
games
I'm
back
sorry.
to
These
back
two
nights?
games were razor close, and Phoenix didn't have Devin Booker tonight.
Look, I agree. I agree. I mean, look, if it's a playoff series, I would lean towards Denver because
Sure.
Denver's done it now, and you expect a better Jamal Murray.
Definitely.
But yes, to this point in the season, I know they just won 2, but it's been neck and neck with Phoenix for sure.
Memphis, I think Denver's better than. I don't think that's too controversial. Dallas is an interesting one. But I think, look, Denver lost to Dallas. This is why it's the revenge tour. But I think that Denver is better than Dallas.
They are better than Dallas.
I think this next game's going to be close. I wouldn't be surprised
I
if
know
Denver.
that Denver's better than Dallas.
Denver is better than Dallas. Is Denver better than Sacramento? That is the real question.
we
that
have
we're,
no
we'll be thinking about.
data to back
the
up saying that
The only
they
other
are.
team on my list here that's worth talking about is Golden State, and I think Denver is better than Golden State
Agreed.
as well.
We smacked them.
Yeah, so that to me, there's balance back in the force. That Denver, we all seem to think at this very moment, with all the bumps and everything, is back to being a top 4 team in the West with room to grow, with a lot of headroom for them to grow into. I think it's great.
I think D-Line said it on the pregame show, right?
What'd I
They were
say?
7-7,
Yeah.
and that was like the worst possible outcome we could have imagined through 14 games.
Yes, that was as bad as the Nuggets can be, and now
Amen.
they're back. All you needed, the difference, one Michael Porter Jr.
All I would say is it is a season full of icebergs in the water. So the ship's bailed out, but it's not smooth sailing from here to the destination.
Just remember, he thought that Jokic
Oh my
was disappointing tonight. So whenever any take that you're listening to, just couldn't wait against that.
Any closing thoughts?
Me,
before
I
we
thought
get out of
Jokic
here,
was great. That was
I
my.
thought
That
Jokic
was my
was pretty
take.
good in overtime.
Guys, thanks for riding with us.
tweet.
Tomorrow we're going to have the betting bonanza. Is that what it's called?
It's called the
Big
DNVR
bet-
the Big Betting Bonanza,
I
the
thought it was the
BBB,
Big Bets Bonanza.
Big Betting Bonanza
Betting
from
Bonanza.
DNVR Bets.
Triple
So,
B's.
I'll be on it for at least a little bit tomorrow. It sounds like
triple
Harrison.
Bs.
It sounds like
I-
D-Line will be on it.
Yeah. Oh, we have the unit measure that comes
The
up at
unit
end.
measure, yeah.
In the unit measure, I came up in 3rd place, but I was not far behind.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations!
I ended up 10
get him a
units up.
large slice of oranges for him. It should be
10
fun, guys.
units.
I know I don't know football too well. I mean, I know football,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
don't like. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah, yeah.
invested. I'm going to dominate them tomorrow on these bets. I'm going to
Yo.
dominate them tomorrow on these
Yeah,
bets.
we're gonna shout Adam's all of his football takes down into the ground.
I'm going to have some fun ones. So you're going to want to check that out. And then, of course, we're going to be back on Monday. Don't miss the pregame show, guys. You're not going to want to miss it as the Nuggets take on the Mavericks. Thanks for hanging with us all weekend, guys.
Give us
Love
a
you
like,
guys.
yo.
Give us a like. I gotta get 200 or 8,000 subscribers or 200 off. I need subscribers or I get fired. You guys gotta help me. I gotta get subscribers.
so
Subscribe
sorry.
on your girlfriend's phone.
I'm so sorry.